bow season. That was a stinger. Oh, this is gonna be good. This is the best time of the year. Oh yeah. Today is October 6th. The second day I'm bow hunting here in Iowa for the 2021 bow season. The reason I decided to take work off early today was because there's a nice front moving through. In the youth season, every deer funneled its way to this corner as they were browsing through the alfalfa. Not every deer, but 80% of them did. So 80% of the deer that we saw in this 6-acre alfalfa field, I could have shot from this stand. Last Sunday when I hunted it, I only saw a little buck, but I'm optimistic that we'll see a little bit more tonight with the anticipated front that's moving through. I'm just glad to be back out and rather be sitting here than at work. Alright, let's see what happens. Back at it here in the Iowa bow season. But the best part about today is it's Friday, so we have the weekend in front of us. The second best part is temps have dropped a significant amount. Either way, we're set up on the 6-acre alfalfa field. We're in the southeast corner of it. Got a nice northwest wind, low winds, overcast, and it's low temps. It's lower than they've been all year. 4:30 right now, 55 degrees. It's gonna drop down to 50. It's gonna be 40 overnight. It's shaping up to be a good night. I'll be surprised if we don't see movement. The only question is going to be whether or not we get a shot. Yeah, if I had to put my money down night to hunt, it would be tonight. Except my bow, and I can see a nice buck out here in the CRB field. I did a hanging on. Late October. We're hunting dead smack in the middle of the timber. I've got a frog pond right here in front of me, about 30 yards from me. And what happens is the way this terrain lays out, these deer have to cross the frog pond on the east side or the west side. I'm on the east side, which is their preferred path. It's a nice pinch point where the deer transition from an oak flat to a ridge that runs up to the north. I got some other spots that are really good that are more ambush type spots that I'm saving for like next weekend with November 7th, so we'll see what happens. This is my second day out for rutcation this year, and what I decided to do this morning is ambush a bedding area that's in the middle of the timber. I'm on top of this flat where there's a bunch of dead ash trees. Because of all the dead ash trees, it's got some good undergrowth. It also has 2 two really small CRP fields or native grass patches that are right next to it that I'm bordered up against. This flat's so big, it's hard to predict exactly where they're gonna go. So what I've done is I've set my stand up right on the transition area between the flat and the native grass patch in hopes that deer will skirt both of those given the right wind. And today we have a south wind, which is a really good wind for this spot. I could see deer moving through this area all day. The rut's been kind of slow for me so far this year, but I don't think it's anywhere close to the peak. I think we will see that in the next few days. As I'm talking right now, here comes the first deer downwind of me. It's to the south. Thankfully it's a young buck, and you can tell he has my wind. He doesn't know what's going on. I just got settled in and we're hunting the home farm today. This is the farm that I have the biggest deer on camera, and that's Yankee. And best case scenario, what I would love to happen is just have a really close encounter with him today. He's been all over the farm since the rut started, had pictures of him last night, so I know he's alive as of last night. Had 2 encounters with him already this year, passed on him. Extremely hard pass because, like I said, he's the biggest buck that we have on camera this year, but he is that type of buck that has big time potential and could be very possibly the biggest deer that I or Dad or Eason have ever killed if he makes it to next year. I decided to come up here and hunt this farm that is where the buck that I call Stinger lives. I haven't got any pictures of him yet this year, but I do know that neighbors have gotten pictures of him. And I do know he's alive because that buck that we saw this morning down at doe, I'm very confident that was Stinger. I was thinking about rattling or snort wheezing, but he was with the doe. My hope is that he didn't bet her down too far from here and that he'll want to get up and push her over this way at some point today. It seems like all the big bucks have their does, but I do think within the next few days we will have some great sits where bucks will be on their feet. It's just going to be a matter of being in the right place at the right time. Nice buck on the other side of the field. It's about 400 yards out. He was with a smaller buck and a doe. I'm gonna try rattling. I really have nothing to lose at this point. his attention now. Oh, this is gonna be good. Oh yeah, he's coming. Absolutely beautiful morning. Temps are up about 10 degrees from yesterday. But that didn't seem to stop deer movement because we saw more deer this morning than we saw yesterday. We're doing an all-day sit. Today, we're doing an all-day sit again. I got PB&J packed. We had some great movement. I saw a buck really early in the morning. It wasn't enough light to even get the camera on him. And then things went slow until about 7:30. And I could see all the way across this field. So I could see a deer jump up. And all of a sudden I saw a nice 10. And he looked like he was following those two. And I was like, well, I have nothing to lose. I'll just try rattling. And I can't believe it. He turned around and he came on a deadbolt right back this direction. So I was getting everything ready. And all of a sudden, that 6-point that I saw earlier in the morning pushes the doe right out into the CRP field 80 yards from me. And what do you know, right when that buck that I had on a deadbeat coming my direction, he sees that doe and that 6-point 80 yards from me. He stops. All his attention goes to them. He pushes the 6-point away. And then he runs off with the doe in the other direction. So, close but no cigar. We got a lot of time left in the day. This is the best time of the year. We're gonna enjoy it. Got PB&J, Code Red Mountain Dew. We're locked in, ready to go. Is Monday, November 8th. Just got down to this farm that I own a stand on back in September. I haven't owned this stand yet. I wanted to save this stand strictly for the rut. Now we're in peak rut. So I decided to come in and on it today. I showed up and kind of kicked myself. I wish I would have got here a couple hours earlier because they're combining right now. So any deer that would be out in the cornfield are now going to be on their feet. It's about 1 o'clock right now. It doesn't get dark till 5. Either way, it's pretty warm today. Had a pretty exciting sit this morning, but stuff died down. I wanted to come down to this farm. I've gotten a picture of one buck that I'd want to shoot on this farm and spot him in right now. Actually, I was thinking of using it more for a morning spot. We got a southwest wind tonight. It's a merge of 3 big timbers. Basically, there's a creek that runs through and it makes a Y. And the best spot on this farm, on the southwest wind, is the spot that I actually have a stand, so it worked out kind of nicely. And they're combining, so I think this will play out really well. We just gotta hope the deer are on their feet like they were this morning. Oh well, let's see what happens. It's gonna be a good night. It's gonna be a good night. There's a coyote over here. He's, I think, digging a hole. He's about 60 yards out right now. I don't have a shot. Coyote doesn't see the deer yet. Hopefully he does see her, because that'll be when I get my shot. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that just happened. Holy cow. I'm shaking. November 8th evening, oh my goodness. My camera doesn't have a lot of battery right now. I just put the smack down on a big buck. Let's go. Wow, what an evening, I can't believe this. I had to keep turning the camera off and on. He put on quite a show. There was a doe right in front of me that he was behind. The coyote that I saw earlier, I was waiting for that coyote to give me a shot. He didn't give me a shot. I saw that buck, and I thought it was a smaller buck that I had on camera here. Well, he came up closer. I'm like, no, that's a way bigger buck than I thought. 20 yards behind her. And he came in and gave a nice, easy shot for me. And he didn't even go 20. Oh my God. There's a coyote around here somewhere. We're about to get more action. I got super lucky I got into the stand today when they were combining because it got deer on their feet. The wind was low tonight. Just a beautiful evening, beautiful setup, a setup that I put in back in September. Haven't touched it since. Got in, and I'm just extremely excited with how this turned out. Such a great spot, such a great buck, and a very, very lucky hunter. That's very, very fortunate. I'm very lucky. I cannot believe that happened with that coyote. I wanted to get the coyote bad because it bedded down over here, was digging a hole, and I was waiting for it to give me a shot. Well, it finally gave me a shot, and then he saw this deer, so he was going after him, and I wanted to get the shot on film, so I let up. And then they pushed those deer right up in here. They were on the other side of the creek over there, about 80 yards. I pushed them up to me. Well, she got wind of me right here, underneath this cedar, and my camera was running low on battery, so I had to keep turning it off, on, off, on, off, on. And she finally got confident enough to kind of come around me because that coyote was down there circling him. And then he followed and gave me a 30-yard shot, and we were able to make it happen. Here comes a buck right now. I've had bucks around me this entire sit. Wow. Cameras are about to run out of battery. There's that buck. There's another 10 over here, and there's a 10 that just crossed the creek down there. My phone has ran out of battery. There's my setup. I think I'm gonna try to find my arrow and go recharge the camcorder, and then we'll go check this buck out. What do you think? What an awesome evening. All right, let's go have some fun. You coming?
I'll be cheering from behind.
Let's check on these feet.
Hey, be careful right here. What? Do we have to drag it across that creek?
Yeah.
Oh. Did we curve? Think the arrow. Was that where he was hit? Or it snapped off?
Hey, here. That's what we hit in the sleeve. There. Wood? Yeah. Yes, sir.
Look at that. Look at that buck. Wow. No, it's a great buck. It's funny, I was just texting you this week saying that evening sits I've never really had, like some of the morning sits I've had in the rut, and today really showed that I was wrong and just haven't been in the right place at the right time in some of these evenings, and tonight I was definitely in the right place at the right time. When I first saw him, I thought it was another buck that's on this farm that's a little bit smaller, and then when the coyote pushed him and the doe back behind me, I realized it was the one big buck I had pictures of, but I only had a very, very limited amount of pictures of him, and this was him. Now I get to see him for what he is, and I'm extremely pleased with him. I took this week of work off, 2 days of next week off, and 2 days of last week off, and been hunting hard the rut, and today I was very fortunate to see a lot. Actually, the past few days I've been very fortunate to see a lot. So I really can't say much more about I'm extremely pleased with this buck. There's so many people to thank for this. Family, friends, I don't even know where to start, but the one person who really deserves thanks more than anybody is the landowner for letting me hunt this farm. Good rut buck. Been very fortunate to have these opportunities, and it's just an unbelievable evening sit. I haven't had one quite like that, I would ever say. I'd say this is the best evening sit I've ever had, so. All right, you two dragging then?
Someone's got. I'm gonna go lend Emily my boots. Take her sandals.
Look how thick that is. This side's thicker.
Yeah.
Nice.
Beautiful. It's a beautiful buck.
The big boy. Yeah, look how big his body is.
Perfect.
Got the shoulders. You want to do that?
You gonna jack it up to the way home, okay?
Well, you're trying to protect the antler.
That's right. I'd be tickled to death with that one.
Yeah, well, I can't believe that. That's an amazing deer. What a great rut it's been.